Hey, economic students, Mr. P here. This is for anybody who missed class, school, Friday, whether you were on quarantine or sick or whatever. This is going to help you do the transaction record that we're going to be working on in class on Monday. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to do this for my econ students. So I've got my document camera here and I'm going to show you what it's going to look like when we are sharing. There we go. So there's a transaction record. These transaction records, I'm going to zoom out here a little bit, sheet of paper. Everybody's going to be required to have one of these when we start the PSJ. And what's important is you're going to see that there's lots of different columns here. The date column, transaction type, company or description, dollar per share, number of shares, with who, plus or minus the amount, running balance. So when you get your actual transaction record on IPO day, you're going to be filling this out and you're going to keep this thing the entire time that we're doing the PSJ. So the first column here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here and work column by column, is the date column. And we're just going to let that auto, let me move this over, auto focus a little bit here. There we go. So the date column. So in the date column, I want you to always use, like today is 4/16. You could do 4/16, or you could do 4-16, or you could even do like April 16. I don't care how you do it, but like if today is April 16th and you do a transaction on 4/16, what you're not allowed to do is the quotation marks. All right, even if you have several of them on 4/16, there's a reason for that. And the reason has to do with, we're going to be going back and doing these double checks, audits, we call them. And everybody's going to be, I'm going to be asking people to find really quickly different transactions, because we call that the paper trail. The paper trail means that everybody in this classroom has an equal and opposite transaction somewhere in this room. So if you got 30 bucks, somewhere you got that 30 bucks from somebody. Somebody has a transaction that is for minus 30 bucks. And so sometimes we have to recreate people's transactions. And the way that we do that is by the date. And again, I'll explain more about this a little bit later on, but just don't use quotation marks. Use the something for the actual date. Now, in the transaction type box, you're either going to put the word buy, sell, invest, dividend, DIV, or SPEC, special. Now, buying is for obviously when you buy some stock. Selling is when you sell some stock. Invest is when you pay me for an investment. And if you haven't watched my videos or been in class, you should know what investments are. So if you don't know what they are, you need to go on Google Classroom and watch some of my videos from this past week. And then there's dividends. You might be receiving cash bonus dividends. And then there are special notations. Special notations are when you either have money leaving your hands or entering your hands, and it's not a buy, sell, investor dividend. So it's kind of like a catch-all transactions. Things like this might be if you pay somebody to do your presentation for you, or if you pay somebody to make your stocks or run your business for the day if you're going to be absent. There are going to be several occasions where you might pay somebody directly, but you're not actually buying or selling stock from them. So you would use this special transaction, okay? And in the company description, that's always going to be either the 3-letter stock symbol. Today we practice with ABC Corporation, and then XYZ Corporation. Those are just fictional corporations. But for example, if you're Joe's Auto Repair Garage, J-A-G, Joe's Auto Repair Garage. If we had to write Joe's Auto Repair Garage, we would run out of room. That's not good. All right. So we're always going to use these three-letter symbols, J-A-G, for Joe's Auto Garage. Now, that's not a real company. That's just one I just made up. But if you checked my spreadsheet that I shared with everybody, everybody got was to give me a three-letter stock symbol. So if you haven't done that already, you're going to need to do that. And so that's what's going to go there. Now, in some cases, you're not going to write a stock there because you may not be buying or selling a stock. Maybe you're going to do an investment, in which case you would do invest. And there's lots of investments on that list. Let's say in this particular case, you're going to do a brochure. All right, so you write in brochure. Brochures cost $150. That's in the handout I gave you. There's a price list for different investments. And you're only going to do one. You can only do one investment per day. And with who? So when you do an investment, you're paying Mr. P. So you're going to write down Mr. P. Do not use my first name. Now, when you buy and sell stock, though, you're going to use classmates' first names. And so you're always going to have a person's name here. And we're going to agree to use all first names except for me. You can call me Mr. P or Master P or P Diddy or whatever. But don't call me late for dinner. That's an inside joke there. Your parents would laugh at that one. So with who is who are you doing this transaction with? An actual person. All right. Not their company, not your company. All right, just who are you doing this transaction with? And then you're going to plus or minus an amount, and then you're going to add that or subtract that to your running balance. Everybody's going to start off with 500 Roscoe bucks. So you're going to go off of that 500 and do your balance here. Okay, so with this $150 brochure, what that means is you're going to be paying me $150 to do that investment. So what you're going to write here is you're going to write minus 150. Now, if I were starting fresh, let's say this was let's erase all this stuff here. All right. So 500 minus 150, my running balance is, you guessed it, $350. If you're not good at doing math in your head, then I would suggest having your calculator available. Now, 50% of your grade in this simulation is going to come from this transaction record. It's a neatness and accuracy grade. How neat can you be? Well, the judge is, if I show somebody a number on your transaction record, everybody would be able to tell what that is. Now, I want to flip this sheet over. Sometimes people will do something like this. All right, that's a 2. All right, but what about this? Is that a 2 or a 3? All right, sometimes people write so fast. Sometimes people will do this for the number 1. All right, or is that a 7? So we'd want to make our 7 look like a 7 by using that sort of situation. A lot of times I'll get this with a 9, where somebody will do something like this. And is that 9 a 9 or is that a 7? Sometimes people will do their 8s really fast, that they sometimes look like a 6. So you want to be neat and make sure that everybody can read your numbers. If you're going to do a 3, I like to do the flat top 3, all right, instead of the curly top 3. 4s are bad too, because sometimes people will do a 4 and they'll do this, all right, on their 4, and that kind of looks like a 9. All right, I don't know if that's a 4 or if that's a 9. So just be clear on your numbers. So if you're going to do an investment, this is how you would write out the investment. So let's say you're going to buy some of Johnny's stock. So today is 4/16, and we're going to put buy. And Johnny's company is called, I'm just going to make something up. Let's call it Johnny's Fishing Resort. JFR, Johnny's Fishing Resort. And I'm going to pay Johnny $50 a share, and I'm going to buy 2 of his shares. And who am I doing that transaction with? I'm doing that transaction with Johnny. All right, there's Johnny. And I'm buying. So that means I'm going to be giving Johnny $100. 50 times 2 is $100. So I'm going to be subtracting $100, and then I'll take that away from my running balance. Now, we're also going to sell stock. So let's say that my company is going to sell, I'm going to sell you some of my company stock. And my company stock is, let's say, my company is Bill's Mexican Restaurant. All right, Bill's Mexican Restaurant. BMR, Bill's Mexican Restaurant. And I'm going to sell to, who am I going to sell to? Fred. Just made that up. I'm going to sell Fred 3 shares for $70 each. I'm going to sell 3 of my Bill's Mexican Restaurant, $70 each, 3 of them to Fred. 70 times 3 is 210. But in this case, it's going to be a plus 210. So I'm going to add 210 to 250, and my running total is going to be 460. Okay, so that's how you do a buy of stock. That's how you do a sell of stock. Now, let's do another one. Let's say that Mr. P yells out that we're going to do a dividend, a profit dividend for JFR stock, And I own 2 shares of JFR stock because I just bought them from Johnny. And let's say it's going to be a $10 dividend. So I'm going to write down DIV, dividend. And the dividend is going to be for JFR. It's going to be $10. I have 2 shares. And this is again going to be with Mr. P. Dividends are not going to come from the owner of the company. It's going to come from me. And you're going to get 2 $10 dividends. That's going to total plus 20. We're going to add that to 460. And we now have $480 as my running balance. Now notice what we did here is we now come up to our 5th transaction. And in the 5th transaction, you have to get the audit initials. You have to choose somebody, a classmate of some sort, and they're going to just quickly double check your math. All right. Did your math work? And then they're going to count your cash, your Roscoe bucks. Let me go ahead and grab you some Roscoe bucks. Everybody's going to have 500 Roscoe bucks. There you see 500 Roscoe bucks. All right. Everybody's going to have some Roscoe bucks. And what's going to end up happening is they're going to count your money. All right. And they're going to make sure that how much money you have matches what your transaction record says. So if your transaction record says you should have $480, when your auditor counts it, which is going to be some random classmate, it's going to count it. And then they're going to put their initials if it matches. If it doesn't match, you just hand everything back to them and say, I can't sign this. If you sign it and it doesn't match, you're going to be liable as well. All right, to their mistakes. Don't sign it if it doesn't match. If it says you're supposed to have 480 and you actually have 500 or 460 or something different, then you've got a problem. Either it's a money problem or it's a transaction record problem. Either it's a math problem, transaction record, or you lost money or misplaced money or something. All right, these two have to match, your transaction record and your cash. And so let's say I get my friend Mary Jones, all right, and Mary Jones puts her initials there. She audited me. So she counted and checked my math every 5 transactions. Notice every 5 transactions, we've got auditor's initials again. All right. And so all they have to do is go back 5 transactions. They don't have to go back and check all your adding. All they have to do is the last 5. All right. So we've got to buy, we got to sell, we got to invest, and we got a dividend. All right. So let's say that we paid, let's say we paid Christopher to do your presentation. You didn't want to do your presentation, or you were going to be absent, and you said, hey, Christopher, if you do my presentation for me, I will pay you, okay, 50 Roscoe bucks. So we call that a special, right? SPEC, special. And what is the special going to be? So remember, this box is company or description, company or description. In this case, we had a description of our investment. It was a brochure. In this case, they were buying and selling in dividends of stocks. So we had to put company initials there. All right. But in this case, I'm doing somebody's presentation, or somebody's going to do my presentation for me. So I'm just going to put presentation, and I agreed to pay that person $50 one time. All right. Who is that person going to be? I forgot who I just said. Cindy. I just bad memory. Let's say it's Cindy is going to do my presentation for me. And so I'm going to pay Cindy. And so this is going to be minus 50. And then I'm going to subtract 50 from my running balance. I'm going to have $430. That's my running balance. Okay. So you're going to do this throughout the Perry Ellis Street Journal. You're going to have this transaction record. And let me show you one of my sheets here. Hold on. So in this Perry Ellis Street Journal packet that I handed out earlier, on the very back of it shows the different, the very back of it shows the different ways that your grade's going to be totaled up. And I don't know if the writing is backwards for you guys or not, but class participation is 25%. The portfolio value competition is 25%. That's whether you come in first place or last place. Neatness and accuracy, that's 50% of your grade for the Perry Ellis Street Journal simulation for the next 3 weeks is going to be neatness and accuracy. And so being able to have this be relatively neat so people can tell what numbers are there and have it be accurate is going to be most of your grade. You're probably going to fill up this entire sheet after maybe 4 or 5 days of doing the Perry Ellis Street Journal, buying and selling people's stocks. You're probably going to have 10 or 15 transactions alone on IPO day, depending on how busy you are. If you haven't already heard my announcement, I'm going to be gone Monday and Tuesday. And obviously you may be watching this while I have a sub, but IPO day is now going to be Thursday next week. And presentation day is going to be Wednesday. So just when you're watching this, it'll be a couple days from now. When I get back, I plan to be back on Wednesday, is that the 20th? Let me look at my calendar here. Wednesday, the 21st. I will be back Wednesday, the 21st. That's presentation day. Also, if you haven't heard, I did talk to Mr. Ewald. We're going to have to put a moratorium on the food investments. So unless it's prepackaged, and we'll just have to kind of wing that, come talk to me if you want to do something like that. But we won't be able to make food in class and prepare it with our own hands due to the coronavirus rules. So food investments are going to be relatively off limits unless you can, have them prepackaged by a store or whatever. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on presentation day and IPO day, because you won't be doing investments yet at that point. So send me an email if you are having issues, or you can chat with me over Google Classroom if you're having any issues. But if you missed on Friday, This transaction record practice is what we did. And in class today on Monday, my sub should be giving you another practice sheet to work on, and it'll also be posted in Google Classroom. So make sure that you're doing that for the class participation points. We don't want to fall behind on the class participation. So that's it. And I will see you guys tomorrow. You're going to work on the portfolio sheets with the sub. Those are going to be a little bit easier than what we're working on with the transaction records right now. But basically, you're going to list all the stocks that you own, how much they're worth at that particular day, add in your cash, and then you'll have a total portfolio value, your net worth of your company, your how rich are you? All right, see you guys.